Right after draft night, a lot of people were saying, hey, the Bears with Caleb Williams, this is a team to look out for. This could be a playoff team the way they finished last year, their defense and everything. And with the Commanders and Jane Daniels, I think it was a lot of unknowns. Hey, there's no way he's going to be as dynamic as he was at LSU when he gets into the NFL. It's going to take some time. But then as the season has progressed, they obviously look unbelievable. Why are the Commanders winning games, and why are the Bears ultimately losing games?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it goes down to the team building aspect of the Bears, right? The Bears decided to become a nickel team, right? They play in Chicago. I think they forgot about that. They play in cold weather, windy, right? I think they forgot about that, right? And so they have an offensive line that really can't block anybody. They're not physical. They can't run the ball. They're one of the worst teams they're 30th in the league on first down gaining yards. They're one of the worst team on third down. I don't think they had a plan for the quarterback. They felt like if we get a bunch of skill guys, pay $22 million for Keenan Allen, pay $28 million for DJ Moore, draft Rome Odunze, pay for Cole Kmet. Oh, we're going to pay for a backup tight end and Gerald Everett too. We'll pay for a nickel running back in Swift. Oh, it's great. Looks really good on paper. If you're playing Madden in the basement, it looks great. It looks wonderful. But you got to punch somebody in the mouth in the NFL, and you got to block people. And that's where the Bears fall short. I said it all summer. Their offensive line isn't good enough. You can't run this 11 personnel and put all the pressure on a rookie quarterback and think you're going to be successful. The number one team in the National Football League this year is the Washington Commanders in terms of rush percentage in the first half. They're number one in that area. They're also fifth in that area of rushes and completions. And what does that mean, right? When you add up the rushing attempts and the completions together, and that number becomes over 51, that doesn't tell you you're going to win the game. It only tells you your execution is really good. Meanwhile, Washington's fifth in the league in that category. The Chicago Bears are 26th. Their execution isn't good, and it starts in the summertime. And so the plan for Daniels was much better than the plan for Johnson. And I think he can't complete passes over 20 to over 10 yards. That's the other problem.
Williams,
I mean, they're not good on third down. He doesn't throw the ball well down the field, and they have nothing to take him off the hook. There's no power run game. Swift's a good player, but he's a nickel runner. This is his third team in 3 years. So to me, I think a lot of this is how do we plan? It's the same thing with Richardson. What's our plan to develop the player? How do we make the player? So you turn the card in, and everybody thinks, oh, the guy's just going to be a great player. No, Daniels came into Washington and wanted us to be a good player. I'm not saying Williams or other players don't, but you got to have a plan for it. And how we build a team around the quarterback is the most important plan.
Okay, so let's talk about that plan and being on the same page. Chuck has a question for you.
So these conversations, Lombo, that we're having, did you just looking back at during your tenure? I know we spent 2 years together at the Raiders, and we had a lot of dialogue. We talked a lot of football. Maybe you and Norv. I don't know what you and Norv, if you had those conversations. If you did. I know we talk about personnel. I know you talk about players. You talk about personnel, but strategy. Do you think there's enough conversations going on in these NFL buildings right now between the general manager and the head coach? Just to your point of what you're talking about is, how are we going to win this game?
Right.
What is the plan?
What's our strength of our team, right? Like if you're in Chicago, if I'm the GM of Chicago, I'm saying to myself, I play in Chicago. It's going to be 14-mile-an-hour wind there this weekend. I mean, how am I going to block somebody? I got to play the Detroit Lions. They have the best offensive line in football. I got to play the Minnesota Vikings. They have one of the best lines. The Green Bay Packers is the number one pass protection line in the National Football League. They give up the least amount of sacks. Like, I got to match that. That's all Al Davis would talk about. How does this player handle this guy and win the division? If you can't win the division, look, it's great to I love having great receivers on the team. But if I can't knock you off the ball, if I can't win 3rd and 1, and I can't run the football and take some of the pressure off and open up the game for the quarterback. Look, I know this more than anybody. You don't win football games running the ball. I get that. I understand that completely. But you set the pace of the game. You set the tempo of the game. And you can control the game that way. And I think that's what the Bears don't have. And the quarterback's very hesitant. He's been sacked almost as much as David Carr was sacked. He's on pace for that. I mean, that's a bad scenario to go through. And I think, to me, this becomes the most difficult aspect. And you have to have that. That's where you just can't have a head coach, and a GM manage the team. Things have got to be done in harmony. You've got to share the philosophical beliefs of both people.
Okay, so we'll be talking to our general manager Veach of the Kansas City Chiefs in the next hour. I'm excited to actually bring up this point with he and Andy Reid, obviously seeing the team the exact same way. How about the Chicago Bears? Obviously, they're in the middle of quite a predicament. They have fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. I was on the team with the Indianapolis Colts whenever you had to do this to Pep Hamilton in the middle of the season and move Chud in there to become the offensive coordinator. What do you expect from this move? How hard is this move to make? And what does this mean for the Chicago Bears going forward?
It's not a move that you want to make. Nobody's looking to fire anybody. But obviously, the thing that's disappointing is like one play, one Hail Mary play, right, from the team that we're going to see tonight, and like totally derails you for the next 3 games, right? So we had to make a change. Pep, and it's never personal. Unless there's something behind the scenes that we don't know, like going on, it's never personal. It's all production based, right? It's win, you get to stay. It's lose, you're out as a coach. If you're productive as a player, as a play caller, you usually get to keep your job. So they move on to Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown was Carolina a year ago, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So
what were they ranked?
Doing some fact checking, right? Their offense was ranked 32.
Okay.
Out of 32 teams a year ago. So I don't know if we can put it all on Thomas Brown. He's probably got a big brain. He's probably got a great relationship with Caleb. We're going to find out.
Yes, and whenever you moved on to Chud, was there, I don't remember, take me back in time, whenever you're talking to the team about the move, what is the messaging? What do you think Eberflus is telling Chicago Bears?
Every decision we make is based on 2 things. What's best for the team and what gives us the best chance to win. Period.
Pep Hamilton was a good man.
Trust. And him and Andrew, like
College.
thick as thieves, right? All the way back to Stanford. We lost BA that first year. Bring Pep in, have success, right? And then we're struggling in 15 and felt like we needed to make a change. And I remember Andrew coming into me and sitting down and saying, I don't know, why I trust, but I don't think this is the right decision.
I like that from Andrew.
No, absolutely. But that's the one thing about Andrew.
Okay, I like
you
that.
talk about having a leader at that position.
Yes.
And a leader in the locker room that's not afraid to have uncomfortable conversations, honest, upfront conversations with the head coach, players, whatever. Hey, like what you're doing right now, this is shit football. This isn't championship football. Get it straightened out. In his own way, right?
Yeah.
So I said, I respect that, but I'm doing what I think's best for the team. I'm going to work. I'm going to do whatever. Boom. So we played Denver. That's Peyton's first game. That was the
1812. The War of 1812. I remember that.
Roof.
Wow.
Right, 30 minutes. Like it was closed.
Oh, hell yeah.
What a great plan by Jim.
Sunday Night Football, right?
Yeah, I don't know the day or
Yeah, I
the
think
night.
that was when I
Don't give a
tackled
shit.
Trey.
It was holiday.
We won that game. And the first guy in the office the next day was Pep. And he goes, that was the right decision. I apologize for coming. You made the right move.
Okay, that's awesome. I appreciate that.
So now we won the game and all that. So I don't know what that conversation would have been like had we not pulled that game out. But
That was the most watched Sunday Night Football game, I think, up to that point. Like, obviously, Peyton's return. Before the game, the round of applause that Peyton got from that crowd was awesome.
and rightfully so.
I remember being on the field for it. Obviously, I'm punting, and I'm standing there, and he takes his helmet. Peyton's like one of the most locked-in people of all time. I think that's, like, documented. Everybody knows that. Him taking his helmet off, though, and doing, like, one of these I think it was like a...
Oh, yeah.
I think he was like a human there for a little bit. Puts it back on. I don't know. I think his drive start average that game was like the 10-yard line or something. Somebody had quite a night. Somebody had quite a night.
Didn't they do a tribute to him, right? That got in his
Oh, yeah.
the
There's a
video
full-on.
board. Oh, and then because he hated the window of the roof, right? Like what?
What are we doing?
But that thing was never open. Like when
If
he
you were
was
winning,
when he, yeah.
Yeah, if you're winning, that thing's not open. We're losing, though. Jim goes,
He
we
was
got to
thinking,
showcase
it's
this.
time.
Brother, team stinks. We got to be able to showcase this. You think taxpayers are happy that you stink and we're not even utilizing? Open it up. Open it up. Anytime that thing started beeping, you'd hear me, Vinatieri, any quarterback going, what the fuck? Win some games, brother.
And
You
who
guys win
always? Where'd you always go to, too, right?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, well, you. Hey, Chuck, what are we doing? What are we doing? Are we trying to win this game or not? What are we trying to do? You go tell Jim. All right, so then I go to Pete Ward. Pete Ward's president of the team. Obviously, I'm warming up. A little bit different animal, me versus probably many other people. Pete, we need to change his music in here. Okay, this music sucks. We need to change his music. And also, what are we doing? Let's
close.
What are we doing with this thing? He goes, well, Jim wanted to open it up. I'm like, well, tell Jim we don't want him to open up. He's like, I'm not saying, why don't you go?
We like winning? Okay. Taxpayers or a dub?
The story was always, well, if you win, you guys will have a little bit more say. Okay, but since you're not winning, guess who has all the say? Taxpayers and Jim Irsay. Open that son of a bitch up. And that's what it was, and that's kind of, I think he meant to open it a couple weeks ago, but they had a malfunction, and then they had a window open. Like they wanted to
wedge up.
Yeah, they wanted to open it. Just for the Colts that are there now, and I know you guys know everything. You haven't won anything, but I know you know everything. Things do start changing when you don't win, especially if Jim Irsay is tapped in, which I think he is obviously getting back in there, which is good news.